Why don't we go ahead and get going?
Okay.
It's 9:03 and we have a quorum. So let's begin. I do have a hard stop for 10 o'clock. I have another meeting that just popped up on Friday that I have to jump on as I'm the treasurer of that group. And it's a budget question. It's a budget meeting. The other thing I want to talk about before we start is the calendar. I missed the fact that I'm out of town June 12th through 16th. And we set up the 13th and the 14th for the presentations. And I was wondering if we could move those forward a week to June 6th and 7th, and then keep our meeting as a group on the 20th.
So what dates were you thinking?
The 6th and the 7th instead of the 13th.
Okay, so applications are due on the 7th. So we couldn't do them then.
Then,
So let's look maybe later.
Later in the week of the 13th?
Well, how long are you gone for, Stephen?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, coming back on Thursday.
Oh,
I'm pulling up our calendar.
end of the week of the 6th?
Yeah, we have to read all
Yeah, we
we
do.
have to read all that stuff and be ready for questions.
Yeah, end of the week of the 13th.
What if we did the 21st and then re-met on the 24th?
There you go.
That's tight, but we don't need to cogitate over the numbers for a full week. Probably by the end of the meeting, frankly,
Know what you're gonna
we're
do.
gonna
Right. I'd be good with that.
Okay, what do you think, Jennifer?
Okay, so we had a meeting, oh, wait, I'm not, all of a sudden I'm not in June. Okay, so
Right.
we have a meeting on June 20th already scheduled.
Right,
So want to go ahead and change that then
be
to
interviews.
the interviews. And so we'll do 20th and 21st for interviews.
What time are
So
those?
let me change
Me too.
this. We're editing.
And I apologize for this.
And so noon to 4 on June 20th and 21st. And then what day do you guys want to discuss?
Well, I suggested that Friday, even though Fridays aren't great, we need to get it done.
Yeah,
Either
And-
the Friday or the following Monday, the 27th. Whatever you think.
Yeah, let me look at what either works for me, but I can do either. Both of those dates are completely open.
Jennifer, do you see any reason why we wouldn't want to do the 27th?
no, there's completely open in the council chambers.
Okay.
Let's just do that then.
What time then?
Okay.
At 1 PM?
Sure.
Sure.
Let's do that. Thank you.
No problem. I'm gonna run and get that off the printer for you. For Julie.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, no worries.
It must be in my office. How embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't have any of them, so I'm more embarrassed than you are.
You had a legit reason, dude. Oh, my goodness.
Well, the first one was pulmonary fibrosis.
No, it's always this meeting, isn't it? Stop doing things like that.
Greg,
Okay.
just so you know, it came up as unexcused.
Excused absence. I've had a lot of those in my career. Started in high school.
So is Jennifer going to get the packets? Is that what I'm understanding?
She's gonna go get me another copy of the Sabre Cannon Beach final
Okay,
because
okay.
somehow I missed it when we were in that meeting.
okay.
But apparently I didn't miss much.
You didn't miss much.
So
Holy crap.
I just opened up the packet that she has posted.
Thank you.
And the first one I see
Oh, thanks.
is from Cannon Beach Arts Association. It's the virtual exhibits, receptions, and the art of presentation.
I don't have that one.
It is?
So that would have been, that's what I put on the website. So the packet I handed out to that meeting, that should be the first one in the packet.
Oh, criminy.
Want me to-
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Last meeting or this meeting? The one you just emailed was all chamber, right? The one
Well, Chamber and Cannon Beach Gallery Group.
was, because all I had,
No worries, I can print.
I have fat.
I'm so sorry, Jennifer.
Me too, Jen. Sorry, Jennifer. I don't have it either. I got,
Well, you weren't there at the meeting, but I was there at the meeting, which, like, what happened to that paper? I thought the paper,
sorry, Stephen.
I only remember it.
That's
had
okay.
Budgetary stuff on it.
Wait. Maybe it is in the back. Is it in the back?
Oh, Jim has it, so it must have been there. I'm a lame-o.
It's okay, let me print.
Yeah, I don't have that one. Print two, please.
Yep.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Here, can I add on to? No, I don't have the sheet that one there.
The saver?
No,
Oh,
That was the sheet with all the
that's
numbers.
one I emailed out at the last meeting.
okay.
Well, I must have it on my email. No,
Okay.
I had it in my original packet, but
this is good stuff.
So do you have the CBAA packet or is she printing that right now?
She's printing that one. If you want to start,
Good start.
we could start with the chamber, because we have those.
Okay,
So, Jennifer.
Yeah,
why don't we go to the chamber then?
Let's do that, Stu.
Thank you.
Pull it up.
Didn't know. Missed everything.
Okay, it's not in that packet.
Starts with the fat bike.
Starting with fat.
Yeah,
bike.
no, I was just going through the packet that was posted online. Okay, so there's the Culinary Festival. Which one do you guys want to start with?
You pick.
Okay, let's start with the Fat Bike Festival that I have up now. So this is scheduled to kick off here in a month, 2 months
Thanks again.
approximately. But it hasn't happened yet.
Right. I didn't see any concern.
Looks like they're going to continue.
Right,
They've already started selling tickets, so that's a good thing.
right. Did any of you have any questions on this?
Not on that one.
None on that one. Not me, Steve.
We've seen the track record of how that organized company has worked in the past. So I don't see any red flags with this one at all.
Okay,
They've laid out a nice schedule.
Easy to understand.
yeah.
so let's move off of that one to the video project.
I'm glad to see them being concerned about supporting all the events in Cannon Beach in our community and not just chamber things and not just member things.
Mhm.
Being on the chamber board, I'm pleased to hear the chamber starting to talk more like that. Makes me happy.
Right, support the community.
Yes.
So the concerning thing is looking forward, the idea of shifting any funding requests entirely to the other applicants.
Right.
Because I read that as it's either shifting it entirely or it's a duplication of funding that if they're asking for an ongoing video program. In order to make those videos, Morrissey would have to coordinate with the event people
Yeah.
anyway. And then you would question the chamber role, except as they function to distribute those things online with their websites and have a specialized YouTube
Yep.
channel. So I just want to beware of double funding requests in
Right.
the future.
Well, and then what's the most streamlined way to do that? Running it through the chamber and having them streamline it is great, but then you could run into questions about, well, Jim is spending time on a non-member or a non-chamber thing versus, I'm just playing
Sure.
devil's advocate.
Sure.
Versus now Seth has to talk to 14 people.
Right.
To do 14 different videos. So I'm just saying,
Well,
and that would maybe be a question for Seth.
I like the coordination they have had, and I think that if they're involved with a program with the city, whether the event makers are members or not, should not matter.
No, I agree with you. My concern is, does it make
Cannot
Steph
matter.
have to spend more time because he has to, I'm talking to Tracy about this event and Gary about this event.
Instead of one,
And yeah, instead of one going to Jim.
many to one.
Yes, they still have to coordinate with timing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I do like the fact that it's
And I'm just a cautionary note
Yep.
to look closely
Yep.
at
with regard to funding.
whether or not
in
there
particular.
are double funding
Yes,
requests.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I think those are good comments. My comment on this was, it doesn't look like they've done any filming up to this point. And I don't know if that's because we haven't had events for them to do up to this point or what, but they just didn't show that anything had been completed or anything had occurred.
This is a midterm. So we should actually
Right.
be asking Jim, are we getting money back because they haven't filmed anything?
Right. That was
Yep.
kind of where I was going with that.
Yep.
Right.
Just, is this idea of changing their, let's see, best option for this year is to create short 15 to 30 seconds videos, et cetera, et cetera. Is that
So maybe,
it's a shift in focus
maybe
from,
we pay him to do the little snippets, but we're
Right.
not paying for a big
No.
overall filming deal. So
Right.
it sounds like we should get some money back, but we need to know what snippets he's working on.
right.
Right.
Are they going to do, for example, are they going to do fat bike? Maybe he's going to do fat bike. I
Right.
don't-
Well, there is an event to film,
Right.
thank God.
Yeah.
One.
And that
So we
looks
have
normal.
questions for Jim.
We do.
Anything else we wanted to discuss on that?
Nope.
Not for me.
Okay. Let's go to Cannon Beach City signage.
Please.
This is
Right.
pretty much the same thing. They're talking about what they will do
Right.
is creating the future action.
So I'm on the chamber board and we just had a meeting, we just had a board meeting. Stephen, were you at that meeting?
Yes.
You were at that meeting, okay. Because I brought up, my concern was, is this just too much for Jim to handle? But he's actually started to put a RFP together. He
Right.
started to look at different signage options, and then he's gonna pull together sort of a subcommittee with an art gallery. He said several different ideas. I suggested Jeff Hall for the art
Oh.
component. He's, long-term here and well-liked, and I think that would be good if he'll. agree
Got
to do it.
taste.
Yes,
Yeah.
good taste. And so that was, so it is moving. There's something happening.
All right. So
Not much yet, but yes, it is happening.
then he'll send it out for bids.
Probably, yes, then there will be an RFP.
Okay.
Probably not fast enough for our lone sign that's left, such that it
One
is.
remaining sign.
Okay.
Okay.
Julie, thank you for that update. Any other questions on this one? Okay.
My only question was moving forward on it because it seems like it was,
It is
and that
moving
seems answered.
Exactly.
It seems like it's been stalled.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It does seem like from talking to Jim last week, this is moving. Maybe not at the pace we were expecting.
right.
Yes.
Okay, the last one from the chamber was the Culinary Festival, and I think we're all aware that this is going to be postponed.
Right.
We have, what'd you say, Jim? 46?
Well, there's
Money back.
42.
42,000, I think we can expect back.
Right,
42,008, 42,8.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, right here.
I think it makes sense to actually get that back until there's a workable plan.
Right. Questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. What do you have right in front of you?
I have digital social media marketing from the Cannon Beach Gallery Group, is
Correct.
what I
That's
have.
what I have.
Yeah.
Okay, let me pull that one up then.
Not much in here.
No, there's not.
Wonder who this is, Jim.
Are you using the packet from the website?
I am using your emails plus the packet from the website.
Okay, perfect, because that would be our email one.
Oh, I see.
Yep. Okay, so I'm looking at digital and social media marketing from Cannon Beach Gallery Group. Okay,
Yep.
let's talk
Such
about
that it
this.
is.
Yep,
That award was 17,680. There's obviously been a change in reporting.
Mhm.
Between
All of these are very disappointing.
The financial update is to the point.
Bruce,
Yes.
you're all good.
Only-
Bruce is here.
Um,
I don't even know what to say about these.
Incomplete is what I would say.
in-
It's bad.
Yeah, it doesn't show a comparison with the anticipated budget.
And there's no idea at all about, did people come? I mean, I know that I thought you guys didn't you have a ticketed event for the Earth and Ocean? Didn't you ticketed something?
This is a midterm evaluation for the upcoming.
Final.
Mm,
Last page is a final.
This one is a final. Yeah, this for Earth and Ocean.
Earth and Ocean.
Earth and Ocean is a final and I thought there was
Yeah,
some
that one
sort
is.
of ticketed event.
Proceeds.
you-
There was.
So it says here, sales on the back.
Right, there's,
For dinner, 4,200, event passes 6,300.
yep.
Mhm.
Sorry, Steve, I guess we jumped.
No,
to-
that's fine.
I'm sorry,
I'm following
I jumped.
along.
Mostly
Ocean.
because I'm just impressed about all these. But so
Yeah.
how many people was that and where did they stay? And
Doesn't say,
Yeah.
it says nothing about that.
has the money, but nothing else.
Is he not
Many-
aware that this is heads and beds?
Many individuals came into town
Mm-hmm.
and they incorporated individuals, visitors. It's interesting. Useful, but interesting. My ex-boss used to say that.
So is this Joe's first
Yep.
Yeah,
It is
reporting?
just first run.
Jim has to tutor him.
Okay.
We're used to your stuff, Jim.
You know, Jim, maybe it would be good to send him a copy of your most recent reports for these events. So he can see the amount of data that you were providing and how you were providing that.
I think I'll, give him the past evaluations and finals, how they're structured. I passed that
Right,
stuff
so
on
he can
to
see
him
the format
months
that
ago.
we're,
Yeah,
the format that we're used to from this organization.
Right.
You guys spent so much time on the Earth and Ocean one, trying to have
Mhm.
a way to judge how many people came into town. And then there's nothing in here about it. Just the money, not the heads.
Right.
I mean, the other ones, some of them you can't judge, but we all know there's no ticketed event. It's really hard to base on. It's like, still is pretty weak. But that one, there was actually, you spent the time to get something to measure and there's no measurement. I mean, if you guys want money.
Right.
Saying.
And that goes back to the question right before we started, when in previous grant funding that I did, we had not just a financial grid, but what our criteria were in each event. And it was all listed on a spreadsheet. So it was heads and beds, this event, I don't know if there's any value in that. It might motivate some of the groups to realize that those numbers are being tracked and kind of,
The hard part is in the events where you can't track it.
Where you
We
can't.
have a significant
amount of those.
like stormy weather.
Yeah, that's true.
You can guess.
Yes.
Hotels are no help and they will never be a help.
Okay.
So that's why I said, and Jim's been on this committee a long
Yeah.
time, so we've always been harping on, can you figure out some sort of ticketed event where you can actually, somebody comes and gives you money or a ticket and then you can ask them a question.
Mhm.
Oh,
Staying,
okay.
Or how
or where
far away
are
did
you
you come
staying
from?
here? How far have you come away? Where are you from? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they worked really hard to do that on Earth and Ocean and there's
Nothing in here about it.
nothing.
Maybe the data exists, we just didn't get it.
Yeah, I hope that the data exists and we just didn't get it. Was the data collected? We don't know.
I know the number data of participants was collected.
Oh,
Okay, good.
Oh,
I
that's
don't know
good.
that anyone collected any information from lodging.
Well,
You're never going to get information from lodging. I mean,
Right.
lodging from the customer, from the consumer,
Yeah,
not from lodging.
and we essentially have been blown off by lodging.
No, we are never going to get the answer from lodging.
Yeah.
Tom Drumheller said that a long time ago.
Yeah, we had the data about participation, that's all enumerated. And that does exist.
So there must be a list of at least zip codes when they purchase the tickets.
All that data from the ticket purchasing should,
Okay, so wait, so there is data that should have been in here.
right.
Okay. Well, at least that's hopeful.
Yeah.
Be amended.
Yeah.
So what is the thought? Do we go back to this group and ask them for that data, or what's that process?
Yes.
I agree.
For Earth,
Agree.
yes, for
Yes.
sure, because they have it.
They do. They
It's
should.
hard to develop it. The other ones,
I think that
it doesn't even look like an effort was made to give us the kind of thing that we would need.
if Jim is able to provide past reports, maybe Joe can, maybe he could elaborate.
Assuming that Joe wants to come and
Yeah.
ask for more money for
Right.
next
I mean,
year.
if you want funding, it's useful for us to understand what's.
Because
Sure.
this isn't super compelling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Comedy.
If he's done asking for money, then maybe we don't care, but I bet you.
I bet
he's
they
not
are.
done asking for money.
Imagine though.
Somehow I don't think he's done.
So he gets an incomplete for this and we ask him
Yes,
Yep.
to provide more data.
Specifics for Earth and Ocean and then embellish these midterms,
Okay.
please.
was the other one the final two? What was the other final for?
Stormy weather from
Stormy weather.
2021.
Stormy weather, yep.
Which again is so hard because how do you, there's no way to judge.
Nope.
It's hard, but
It is
still,
difficult. You can give it a try.
I can't remember what you guys have done in the past with stormy weather and or what the chamber's done for stormy weather. I can't remember, but it needs to be more than, here's the money you gave us. Thanks. Seemed like a nice weekend.
It said that the show was regarded as a success. Well, that's
That's
awesome.
fabulous.
That's awesome.
Right.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Would like to work closer with Chamber to determine a possible metric to quantify for future. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Appropriate speak.
read Jim's past
At least he's
reports.
commented.
If he just looked, honestly, seriously, if you just looked at last year's, there should be some interesting information there that he could bring forward, you know.
Sure.
See, Jim did this, maybe I could add this. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Done with that?
Yeah, anything else on stormy weather? All right, okay, let's look at spring unveiling.
That's the one that's coming up. It's under this
Yes.
funding.
May. Mhm,
About a month from now.
mhm.
Is there any ticketed or anything there that
Yeah,
would
do you
be
know?
some metrics?
Nope.
No,
Nothing
not,
ticketed, okay.
there isn't again. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
For the record, Bruce St. Dennis, City Manager. How confident are you with the information? I know that you're trying to get some data, but with that, how comfortable are you that the information that you have is good? And how comfortable is it? Maybe repeatable is the wrong question. But like if somebody really did try to come in and do an audit, would the numbers you get stand up? And where I'm going with this is that I know that this is one of the criteria that you've been assigned to work with and to use as a criteria. But it is one component in the ordinance, or not the ordinance, but the statute that deals with the funding on this and how we can use TLT funds. And I'm not sure if there is a requirement beyond our own to be able to have some data to say that more than 50% or whatever came from more than 50 miles away.
I thought that was in the state law.
Well, no. It's the ordinance, that is how they define a tourist.
Okay, all right.
We extrapolated that to try to prove that, these people were tourists. But to my knowledge, I don't think we've ever been challenged on it. And I'm not sure if, again, this is something that I think that was put into your charter, but it's something that I think that we should discuss because I don't think it's possible to get the data. And if somebody was to challenge us on this, And we got the information from like one of the people that was trying to propose. Could we really use that to defend ourselves?
Defend ourselves against who?
Yeah, you suggesting the state audit?
An audit.
Well, I don't even think it's the state would audit us. I mean, I think it would be a challenge.
Citizen?
By Orla or something like
Oh, I
that.
see.
If somebody was to come forward and do that, could we say, oh, no, we've got all this perfect data?
No.
And so,
Which event? Some events have the opportunity to have really good data. Some obviously don't, and we know that.
right, but I'm not sure sometimes if you collect it and you've got some that's good and some that's not, does that mean the nots don't qualify? So we're using it as a criteria. It's a criteria that we seem to be chasing. And I think it's only our own requirement. It's not, we're not required to prove anything. That was just the tourist definition. Somebody from more than 50 miles away and spends the night. And we're kind of using that as a criteria and try to count those people. And I don't know if we can.
Not in all cases, no, we can't.
Yeah,
In some cases,
some cases,
yes.
Julie said there's specific data.
but if we're using it, and that's great for the one that we do.
Mhm.
But if we can't, should we be doing anything?
Are you suggesting we wouldn't fund them anymore?
No.
Okay.
I'm saying, no, what I'm saying is that if we're using that as a criteria, and we have some people that we're very comfortable with the criteria, and we're not with others, well, if that's our criteria, then maybe you need to ask yourself that question. I don't think we need to go there. I just think that the criteria, I don't think it's good for us to use that as criteria.
If it's not applicable for all, then, I mean, if you can't measure it for all, then why is it criteria?
Yeah, and it's something that's, as far as I understand, it's self-imposed.
Yeah,
I don't think we're actually able to measure return on investment
Right,
because the metrics, the way that they're normally used, they make whole sets of assumptions. They totally ignore random events occurring and they assume cause and effect. And I think that trying to put this into numbers gives us confidence in the wrong things.
Mhm.
I'm more focused on looking at an event from the standpoint, does it become a quality event for a visitor to town?
Yeah.
Does it present the town well? And I'm inclined to support things that do that,
Mhm.
the personal view.
And I think we've heard, like, when it comes to, we've heard this before, that going back and forth on things like Get Lit and the cottage tour for two separate reasons. Get Lit doesn't bring a lot of people to town,
Mhm.
but people seem to like the idea of the reputation it has, what it brings to town.
Mhm.
It's a thing also that locals can do.
Mhm.
And then and Greg Swedenberg often talks about this since he's from lodging. He's like, I'm not sure we even need to have the cottage tour in terms of lodging. September, mid-September, not a problem. But at the same time, great event, brings people to town. Is it incremental? I'm not sure. Maybe they'd be here anyway, all that kind of stuff. So we have those conversations.
Mhm.
It seems to me like it's not bad to measure, when you can measure heads and beds, we should.
Mhm.
It seems to me, I would hate to say, okay, well, we'll just give out money to whoever we feel good about, because that was done in the early days of this committee and it was a crashing
Failure.
failure and like a big news failure. It was not good.
We-
So I don't know.
I actually have an assumption that I make is that people don't travel for a hotel room. They travel for the content of the place, whether that's in activities, whether that's in environment or other things. And lodging numbers are pretty solid. It's hard to prove you've added to that on a specific event. Because there's not a long way for lodging to go up.
Mhm.
Like the spring unveiling, this is 22nd spring unveiling or something. And lodging would be full anyway.
Mhm.
I guess I'm wondering what
By 90s.
you're not saying we shouldn't fund these events. There's an argument right there for not funding spring unveiling.
You're saying is, should we?
Unveiling may not happen if
Are we
we
using
don't fund it,
self-imposed
If-
criteria?
right?
It's a self-imposed criteria
Right,
that you can't rely on.
correct. You're absolutely right.
And so once you start, down that road, it's like, well, what else does it mean? Should should you put yourself in a position that you don't fund those other ones? To tell you the truth, the real Achilles heel for this whole discussion, should I even say what it is?
Sure. Yeah, please.
Is that what we do here does not meet the criteria for the statute. So that's where our real,
Statute is our statute, not.
No state statute.
the state.
Oh,
But that's subject to modification.
Right.
We're actually anticipating it.
I know. But I'm saying that that's where we would have trouble defending. It wouldn't come down to, because we've done it for so long.
Right, it wouldn't be a local thing.
No, it would be somebody that would say that we're not following the statute.
Right.
But because you're not allowed to fund the operation of an event, and I don't want to go into it anymore, but
Yep.
we're doing it for some other reasons, or maybe like, and one of the lines that I just absolutely have clung on to came from this young Julie here. And that is that we spend money promoting the product and not improving the product. And so we're doing some of those things now, like with the Cannon Beach Elementary and some other stuff. But I just see you trying to struggle with this every year. And I don't know if it's something that we have to struggle with because we can't prove it, and I don't know if we can use it.
so I guess what I would struggle with then is then we would not fund things like the cottage tour. We would not fund Get Lit. Get Lit won't happen anymore. Tracy has sat there and said, without this funding, this event doesn't happen.
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay,
You're saying,
You're saying the opposite, I believe.
correct,
Yeah, I'm saying that,
just fund them.
yeah.
You can't defend the rest of them
We
anyway.
can't require them to report on
Or if
attendees
they-
from 50 miles or beyond.
Right, see, or if they can't, if somehow you can't come up with that information. And I've been at the at Coasters, and so they do their best to do it. And so they ask people to raise their hands. I got no idea if that's inaccurate.
Right.
oh, for sure.
I know it isn't.
So it's like,
Seen it.
what do they call it? Self-dealing or something?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So, and also suppose 10 people raise their hands and I write down 100.
Right. It's not audit proof. None of this is audit proof.
Yeah, so it's just, I see you struggling with it. And I don't know if it's really a good criteria to worry about as opposed to improving the product.
But
I
Then
tell
you
you,
come down to the subjectiveness of, are we improving the product? Somebody hates Get Lit. Actually, more likely they're going to hate something like in the old days, Sabre Cannon Beach. 800 people came and mussed up my streets for, a whole afternoon, and they were drunk and that's what we're more likely. And that's the one event that actually did pay off. That was the one that actually worked the way it was supposed to.
Right, but
I understand what you're saying now. Okay.
I'm not trying to say don't fund them.
Yeah, no, if we had a criteria that focused on funding content of experience and quality of experience,
But how do you measure
how
that?
do you measure that, right?
Yeah.
well, you think you're right. None of this really can be measured very well.
I mean, that's the hard part for me, is just seeing the failure, the very, very public failure that happened in the very early days of this thing was just like, that can't happen again.
Okay.
It was bad.
Okay, could that have been avoided by counting heads and beds?
Well, it was avoided for the second time by counting the heads and beds for the 3 people that came for a very, very expensive event. So up front, there was big plans for, we're going to have hundreds of people. We're going to need the Coaster Theater for this big event. And then nothing happened. I mean, literally, I think there were 10 people that purchased a ticket that wasn't local.
Mhm.
And I think the funding was something like $60,000 to $70,000.
Mhm.
What event are we?
What was that, Tyler, the race guy for the Cannon Beach Arts Association?
Yeah.
What was his name?
Oh,
That's right into the back.
Taylor,
Somebody.
I'll have to go back and look,
Ah.
but it was the guy that had the book about racism or something about that. And Cannon Beach Arts Association, well, I don't remember who the head of it was at the time asking for the money, but they convinced this team that it was going to be worth it and it was going to be huge. And Val was on the board at that time. I was not. She was talking to me about it because we were friends.
Mhm.
And she's like, oh, Julie, this is not going to be good.
Mhm.
There's a lot of money and we've sold 3 tickets at the time we were talking. And I think it ended up to be something in the neighborhood of 10 or 11 tickets purchased from anybody that was not in this community.
And was that one of the first time?
That was one of the, this was in the early days of his committee.
It takes some time and
Oh, yeah, I know.
we've had situations that weren't great.
And I worry about somebody with their own personal self-interest, although we have 7 of us and it's been pretty good. I do worry about someone in their.
Taylor
personal-
Branch Symposium.
Branch, there it is.
Keeps records.
Yeah, I was gonna,
Jim and his records.
But Bruce, are you suggesting that since we're not audit proof anyway, why are we fretting over spending all this time trying to drag data out of the groups?
I think where I struggle
Mhm.
is that
Trying to be clear.
I'm not sure if what we're doing could pass the test.
Correct. I don't disagree with you.
So now, starting from that point, then why are we adding this, relying so much on this criteria? Would only shoot us in the foot anyway.
Mhm.
And so can you function better by looking at the things that can help Cannon Beach or that can help, and again, you want to get heads in beds and all that, we understand that. But instead of trying to prove that and accepting information that might be questionable and then saying that, okay, well, if we ever get challenged, we'll get all of these records people gave us. Well, that's not what they're going to challenge us on.
Mhm.
So
I get it.
to try to make the decisions based on what you think is the best,
Merit of the,
Yeah.
rather than.
It becomes much more subjective then,
Correct.
as long as we're all okay with that.
well, I don't, to a degree, I think you're right. But on the other hand, if your data's not good,
It's still subjective.
yeah, it's still subjective.
Yeah.
It's like you're being subjective on what you'll accept.
The only position we have, Bruce, though, is that we tried. So
I-
you're right. It probably won't hold up in an audit, but you can say you tried.
I know, but that's not what you're going to get gigged for.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
I get
That's right. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so anyway, that was my thought, because I've seen, you guys struggle with it for
Yep.
a couple of years now, and I don't know if it makes what we're doing any better.
What does city council want us to do since we all serve at their pleasure?
There you go.
The whole reason we're here is because they want us to come up with ideas.
Did you get the after pleasure, Jennifer?
I would tell the city council or anyone else, I do keep records of return customers and new customers. And the high rate
gallery.
of returns in the gallery, physical sales.
Yeah.
The reason those people return is that they had a good time the last time.
Yep.
So if
Experience.
we can do anything to support the content and quality of experience with what the applicants are applying for, I would suggest that leads to a consumer response
yeah.
to return to look for that sort of thing again.
Improving the
And I think that proves heads and beds
does.
adequately.
Yeah, I mean, I would think return customers and new customer, if you see those inclining, isn't that a more quantitative amount? I mean, isn't that easier to judge than?
Well, that's his gallery.
Yes,
Yeah, it's a
but in
one-off.
I mean, I know,
Comedy festival,
Yeah.
if you'd like to look
Yeah.
at something that's tough.
yeah,
Blatant lies about how many people there
Right.
were from far away
okay,
in the audience and saw the blatant lies.
yeah,
So we got false information that I know was false.
Bruce's point.
Granted, that was in the year that we gave them almost no money. So it's like,
$300.
there's not much at stake there, but but then he came back and asked for more money and disagreed with me openly that I was, that he didn't lie about anything.
yeah,
It's like, okay, so that's heads in beds. So if we take that away for a second, do we want a comedy festival here for the tune of $7,000 that is filled with locals? And would the state be okay with that?
Well, probably, maybe not.
Right.
yeah.
I'm trying to be as decisive as.
Was that probably, maybe not? Is that what?
Yeah,
Okay,
those kinds.
Just want to make sure I got that clearly.
You're not taking notes, are you? There's another flaw in this too, is that if an event happens and the hotels are already full,
Mhm.
then how many, and if I raise my hand, because I was coming here because, my daughter was getting married on the beach, and then I go to Coasters.
Yep.
I didn't come here to go to that,
Right.
so it's like,
Yeah.
really, all of it's iffy.
I would raise the question, is this really about raising the profile of the image of Cannon Beach? How much of this program is really that?
And that goes back, no, but.
I think it should be.
Said to me, and what you're doing is improving.
Right.
Product,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I
I don't
personally
disagree
think-
with that, but then you get into the subjectiveness with Andrew. Well, I think comedy is, and you would say, I don't think comedy is. Or maybe you think it is, but I don't. And then we get into this argument of, well, again, it's very subjective about, well, should we be funding a comedy festival in the middle? I mean, I don't remember what the date was that he was asking for it, but it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Yeah. And
That's the tougher part.
I'm sure I've confused things more. So my work here is done.
You can hope for nothing more from a city manager, Bruce.
In the first round of comedy, I did not support it. The next time around, I did support it because what occurred actually changed my opinion somewhat.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's just more of a start of the discussion. But I'm not sure if we're on the right track to get to improving the product if we're trying to force that criteria in which no one requires us to track and use as proof.
Even for Earth and Ocean, we had an event coordinator that would have fallen under her job description. The total organizational thing was so huge that we used up our event coordinator before that data could be accumulated and filed in a report.
Yeah, so.
But a strain, it's like a drag on the total energy available for the event.
Yeah.
And we'd have to figure out how much we want to require.
Yeah.
It seems like that's one of the things that
Effort.
should be in the meeting we've been waiting to have with city council for 5 years now to talk about, well, one, some people want to talk about it should only be arts focused. We already know about that argument. But that seems like that's something they should tell us. It's like, we do want heads in beds and we want to lay our, hat on that, or let's not put such an emphasis on it. And let's focus on this criteria, whatever this criteria is.
Mhm.
Since they're the ones that are asking us to do this, it seems like we need to have some criteria, realizing that if it's not heads in beds, it will be more subjective.
Seems to me like the directive has shifted over the time frame. I mean,
I think the council's given us a degree of latitude
yeah.
to,
sure.
to
flounder?
search around. Yeah. I was about to say that.
Permission to flounder, sir.
Yeah, because it's an experiment.
Yeah.
The whole thing is an experiment.
But it seems like in my experience, the off season as it once was is not the off season
Correct.
now.
I don't think so.
Sure.
That's changed.
So do we shift from the quality, the reach or whatever of events and having, like you said, you might not come for that particular thing, but, oh, wow, this is going on, and keeping that. I would say there's an expectation of Cannon Beach to be providing
Something.
for arts, and whatnot. I mean, that's kind of what we've hung our hat on now, I would say, is having events and being the place to come for those. So is our lodging full? Are we not so concerned with that? Is it having these identifiable things?
To that point, I went to Leavenworth, Washington,
Yes,
not during Oktoberfest,
yes,
the major image of that
Yes.
town, which you want to avoid. But because it seemed an interesting place,
mhm,
I went there and had a great time doing other things.
yes. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like,
I think if I would make a suggestion, is that at some point might want to have that conversation with council.
Mhm.
But,
Still waiting for the meeting.
yeah, for, my comments were, I guess, to suggest that because we can't prove the data, because we're not sure what it really does, we don't know what it means, because those same people might have been here anyway, that kind of thing. That maybe, maybe for this cycle, you don't press so hard on that criteria and see what your results are. If they're different or the same, what would happen? And I don't know if maybe it was Jim that just, it's not necessarily helping the quality of the events or the quality of life kind of thing, focusing on that particular report. Maybe you can just kind of in your own minds, not press so hard on it. And I don't know what else, I don't know what you substitute for it, but it doesn't matter because I don't think it's that good. And it doesn't matter because we're already in trouble anyway.
Well,
But where I think that we're good is that we have a track record of using the funds in this way. And so I think that if we were to be challenged on that, I think that we would do all right. But I'm just saying that that really is the heads and beds is not, and it's our own criteria. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, with that being said, I have 5 more minutes and then I'm going
Right.
to
I know, sorry.
turn this over to Jim as the past chair to lead the conversation. Still in the gallery group, we had,
Which one?
let's see, the last one for them was the digital and social media marketing midterm.
Mhm.
the advertising committee effectively is Joe and Alan coordinating with Gary Hayes with that social and digital media. I know that they're talking about the number of postings and working on the,
Engagement and
total engagement.
growth.
But I haven't seen any kind of a report other than statements in meetings that they're working with him and increasing that speed.
Right, and this isn't single event, this is across events, correct?
That is
All
correct.
three events.
All
taken.
3 events.
Yeah.
And this is the midterm, so hopefully they'll have more information at the.
I think we can demand a full report from the social media, literally the contractor will have that tracked from invoices.
Okay,
Joe's receiving the invoices. We should have far more detail in a final. And I'll lean on them for explaining just what's expected.
anything else on this one? Okay. Then I have CBAA. You have that in front of you now?
Yeah.
Packet from Lila. The first one is the art exhibits.
Mhm.
Questions or conversation around this report?
It's nice to see that, like a pretty good breakdown of where the money is going.
The breakdown by event,
Right.
yeah,
that's useful.
The only questions I'll throw at them later is, I don't know what the art day is in the various schools, what the actual content of the program is,
that's what I was
but I can,
asking.
I'll try to ask about that.
I'm
Yeah.
I would assume, and I don't know yet, but that it's kind of more of an artist in residence doing like an art literacy day rather than the schools
Right. That's,
having their own program. I mean, as far as,
it's something that I liked also, in the working shores. My note here is of good community involvement in that, so.
Yeah.
There's a reason why this institution has been around as long as it has been, because of that community engagement.
exactly.
Any questions on the financials?
Not from me.
Okay,
Not for me.
No questions.
Thought they were good.
all right. Then we have a midterm from Lush Lux.
Mhm.
Almost lumped together with the WOW are happening simultaneously.
Yep,
I think this is one of those leaps of faith and test. Try to revitalize that weekend.
right. And this event hasn't happened, so it's happening
In May.
no, it's happening in May.
No.
I'm sorry.
Advertising.
Yeah.
Oh, advertising.
It begins in May, sorry.
Yeah,
Isn't
Yeah,
it
no, it's-
normally
it's-
October?
it is.
That's, I'm sorry, you're right. Sorry, that's advertising. Excuse me, Steve.
So they're talking about promotion
For the fall.
happening.
Mhm. Both of them, right?
But
They
we
come
funded,
together.
an early lead so they could count on that in order to organize and make the connections to ahead of time.
Gotcha.
This was one of those things that kind of, the funding is not a match for the fiscal year.
Anything else on Blush Lux or WOW? Okay,
So
the next midterm is Cottage Tour.
Yep.
And again, this hasn't happened yet. This is happening in mid-September.
At least they have their old format
Right,
that I always found to be one of the most illuminating accounting.
Julie, is
pardon?
Elaine?
Need my glasses though.
Oh, Elaine has resigned. Very,
Yeah.
very much a bummer. I don't know if they have hired her replacement. There is a name of somebody here that I don't recognize, but
Andrea's been working on taking over her stuff.
Oh.
Andrea was already there.
yeah.
Did she come to one of our, anyway, she was already there. Sorry.
Yeah, she was already there. So I know that she's the one coordinating with me saying, hey, can you send me this? And what do we?
Okay.
So I don't know if she's fully replacing her, but I know she's handling things. Okay. Now,
Well, Elaine must have left a good template for her because she was thorough.
Yep. No questions on that?
Yeah, I never have.
Okay.
It's usually-
let's move on to Savor.
This one.
So the Savor is going to happen in the month of October.
Yep.
So what you gave me, so all of this is a midterm. Did we never get a final on what happened last year?
so this is the 21-22 cycle.
Correct.
Mhm.
But there was one in
There was an
October
October
of
event.
21.
Correct.
Whatever happened to the final for that one?
So I did get a final in November. You know what I think I did is I think I'd asked Jim, what should I do with these? And we said, we'll hold them to the next meeting. And then I forgot about it. when I
Can you email them
posted
to us just so we
Please.
can have
Thanks,
it?
Jennifer.
So, because yeah, that looks like in November I got that,
Yep.
because everything else seemed to be in August.
And that would make sense because he would have gotten it to you
Right.
30 days after the event was
Right,
completed,
right,
which
right.
would have been the end of November.
November.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah, no biggie.
Jen, it's all right, Jen.
I don't have any questions on this.
Okay,
I'd be interested in seeing what happened
Last year.
last year, because I don't know anything about what happened for October of 2021.
I know he sold out almost every event.
Okay.
That's basically what I know of the event.
My biggest issue is, like, he got about the same amount of money for what he had done previous, and I said this at the thing,
Right,
and I downgraded my money. And but, you know, he's not bringing 800 people to town anymore. So where do you put that balance of how much money do you get when the number of people drops to whatever it was, because I don't have the final yet. So
right.
I just want to know how much it dropped.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because instead of a lot of people for one weekend, he had a smaller number of people for 5
4
weeks.
weekends, right?
Right.
5 or 4?
It was 5 weekends in October last year.
Oh, what? Oh, there was. Okay, gotcha.
So it said here, instead of an event that draws 1,000 for one, we see the potential attracting 200 or more for,
Right.
which may have actually happened. We, like you said,
We
haven't
don't
seen it,
know.
right?
We don't know yet.
Gentlemen,
Okay, I have to drop off at this point. So there's Coaster Theater is left, and I think the Comedies Festival is left, which is being canceled. So if you guys could talk about the Coaster Theater, and Jim, you and Julie lead the conversation, I'd appreciate it. So I have to drop off now.
you, Stephen.
Bye.
All right, thank you, guys.
Bye, Steve.
All right, bye.
So back here,
Canceled.
Saber.
Yeah, all I have is a midterm.
Here, I've got Coaster's midterm.
Yeah, Coaster, and then the Tolavana is Andrew saying it's canceled.
So we can expect
Money back.
Money
a
back.
turn.
Mhm.
And
So
that,
he did,
yeah,
he did send me an email last week and he was saying, hey, I noticed that Savers event is next fiscal year. So how come I'm returning my money and he can use his money for next fiscal year? And I said, well, he planned his event for next fiscal year, so that was how it was planned. Anybody who isn't using their funds as planned
Right.
has to return it. And
That's
so
correct.
just wanted to let you know, so that's how I replied to him.
Good.
And I did check with Lori. The reason Gatlit didn't show him that financial as returning funds is because she said it showed up on the last one.
Oh,
So it's already accounted for,
Yeah.
so she didn't list it yet.
gotcha.
That's why I thought they'd be,
Right.
yeah.
So Jen, you responded to this email then, the one that Andrew sent on the 15th? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So I let him know he needs to return funds.
Did you have to tell him how much he was given?
Yeah, I told him how much. Just
Of course, he wouldn't know. How would he know? Oh, God.
It actually worked out really well because he still had one of the checks. So
Good.
he's bringing that check
Okay.
back plus reimbursing us for the other.
Jimmy actually says that in here. Can you let me know how much I received?
Well, because he only did 2 cycles.
Okay, I'll let it go. I'm sorry.
He's
Just like,
he's
good
just
gosh,
hanging
man.
out.
Good gosh.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. We doing Coaster, Jim, or we doing, you want to do
let's-
Coaster Theater?
go to Coaster.
Oh, come on.
Midterm for Coaster.
Okay, what does he say?
And
Tom Grant, Shelley Rudolph. Metrics.
and the show of hands of
Yep, show of hands.
50 miles.
Mhm.
In the space, it's easy to estimate percentages of people who raise hands. Not so easy to estimate the,
To Bruce's point,
Accuracy.
this is subjectively objective.
right.
Yeah.
Glad I could help.
The city's here to help. I don't, it's pretty straightforward.
Basically 25%.
First of our 4 on Saturday. Did you go to it? Tom Grant? You didn't.
No,
So they've held 1, they 3 to go.
When you look at the total amount of expenditures for the special program, it's going to be really tough to ever sell tickets to cover all of the expenses.
Yep.
Um,
unless you're doing Pink Martini, and then you have the problem of
How do you get enough
it's filled
people?
with locals.
or Storm Large.
Or either one.
Storm.
Yeah.
It's filled with locals.
Okay, rookie question. Piano tune repair. Did we know, did we provide him piano? I assume he
Oh,
Like, are we tuning a piano every year for
for that event.
that event?
Single event.
Okay, and it doesn't get used,
Is it our piano
It's
or
not
does
our
he
piano.
travel?
not our piano, or he's,
Theater's
He
piano.
travels with his piano.
The piano has just traveled to the theater.
okay,
So
that's what I
So it
thought.
needs to be retuned,
Gotcha.
which is,
That's right.
tune and repair, $2,300.
Yeah.
That is interesting though.
I was gonna,
I get tuning it.
well, these, um, the total award was for multiple events.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
expenses shown here are 15,183.
It's Tom, right? No, it's got other things in there.
But not all of the things they'd applied for actually occurred.
Not yet, right? They have 4, we had our first of 4 concerts on
Aha,
March 12th. So there's 3 more coming,
okay,
apparently.
okay.
Yeah, so, no, no, that's last year. Let's see. That is just March. It shows the stuff they did for last year.
Hmm.
Not entirely sure how to read that.
But I think they did fund forward.
Yep.
Some of those were advertisements. Country Media
Right,
and
yep.
Skies America.
Guys, Mean Girls.
Is advertisement.
Looks like they have to pay fees to Intrepid Artists and LC Music. Must be distributors.
Yep. I don't know any questions.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
Always tricky ones.
Yep.
well, I think we can probably thank them for that move forward to see what happens next.
Mhm.
Finals. And
Left. Them all, or is that,
Yeah, I think that's
that was
it.
it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, and the comedy festival that's canceled.
But it's canceled, yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
so we can expect a return of funding,
However much Andrew got.
folks.
So this is off topic a little bit, but when we were having a discussion earlier with Bruce, I had an idea about our application. Would you guys be okay if we added a question that said, would you be interested in using the old Candy Beach Elementary site for an event in the future? To try to weigh people who want to use that site, and so we can kind of get an idea.
Sure, if you're interested, I mean,
If you're
I can
interested, yeah.
probably make an intelligent guess, but it's not a bad idea to make them say, to have them say, yeah.
Because then we know it kind of will help us through this process of Canada Beach Elementary to see who is interested in using this, and so things to take into account.
That's data we can use.
Yeah. hold
Yeah.
on.
I think it's important that we do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're
Sure.
good with that, because I would like to add that
Yep.
on, and perfect.
One other thing, is there any fleshing out, I'm directing this toward Bruce, of the possibility of funding for the Audubon coordinator?
That's right. They were going to ask for money, but that's right.
Well, that would be in the upcoming cycle. I'm just trying to get an advance. Look.
I'm going to talk to Friends of Haystack Rock and ask them if they want to put in an application. And that's one that you'll have a heck of a time trying to go ahead and figure heads and beds for the
Yeah.
year, but it's, I think it'd be a good investment.
Yeah.
So you'll probably see an application from them.
It's always hard to estimate the actual impact of Haystack Rock Awareness Program. Although my gut feeling is that they're some of the best public relations people this town has.
Absolutely.
I judge it by the wildlife we still have on that rock.
Correct.
Because without it,
We wouldn't,
Oh,
the rock would be decimated.
Right.
Yeah.
I have no doubt about it.
wildlife would have been,
I've been here since I was 5 and seen what people did on that rock.
Kelly,
yes,
Still peeled the starfish off the.
oh, yeah,
I didn't know any better.
yeah,
Kelly Ennis who is a data hound, we call her. they've been doing a bunch of research and they would kind of set things by tide, let me see, low tide coming and then high tide arriving. And what they found was that if you do that and they're gone, there's a period sometimes that the rock is still accessible, the saddle is still accessible.
Right.
And so they did a measure on all of that to find out how much. And they'll be requesting, I think it's about $20,000 or $30,000 a year coming up to make sure that they are there until the tide comes in enough that people are
Had access to the saddle.
up on the saddle. Reason, in another part of the data, was that particular site was the number one for nest disturbances on the Oregon coast.
Mm-hmm.
And so it happens after we've left. And she also put people out about 2 weeks, 3 weeks early this year.
Hey.
People are coming anyway. So
Yep.
they've been out there since.
Yeah, I noticed that driving in because I drive in and see the truck out there and it's like, oh, I'm glad to see that out there.
It's like beginning of February, they were out.
Yeah, we lost 2 oyster catcher nests. I don't know if it was last year or
Last year we lost.
was it 2 last year?
Yeah.
And they finally did have a third that they had to go all the way on the other side of the saddle and nobody could see the chicks. We're assuming they hatched.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Boy, oyster catchers, dumbos.
Because I am one of the people who loves to go squirrel.
Yeah.
Go ahead and just move the attention around. Dawn, and I forgot what her last name was, from US Fish and Wildlife, explained to me that black oyster catchers, first of all, they're not black. They're dark brown.
Okay,
And they don't catch oysters.
yes,
They slurp mussels.
yep.
Yeah, they
So they're really dark brown mussel slurpers.
Muscle slurper, that's what they call them.
It just rolls off.
Right off the tongue. That's why you need HRAP out there.
They're my favorite birds. They're my favorite birds. I just love them. Yeah, and I don't, yeah, you're not gonna have a heads in beds, but well, I'm for funding almost anything. The Audubon Society, those people.
Everyone in lodging will target those as the visitor of choice.
And they're already having conferences in other cities on the coast.
And that's,
Can you imagine once we get the school
put the
building
school
done?
building up, you might have a conference there.
No, I mean,
So excited.
we're looking at as being a big part of it.
Should be.
And again, you got the ECFR, you've got all these, Falcon Cove, all these places.
Yep.
So we think that I think we would be a good choice.
Mhm.
Yeah, annual conference right here.
Or other ones too.
Mhm.
And there are other Oregon bird organizations. that we're
Maybe we should get Eric or Hannah on this committee. Do we still have an opening on this committee?
No,
We
Yep.
don't.
we finally filled it. You will have an opening in August.
Is that when I go
Drops
off?
Jim drops
Do I
off?
go off?
No, I think you're next year, but Jim is our only one for this year.
So you got off the
You
budget.
have 2 openings in the budget committee, if you know.
You just got off the budget committee. Tried to get you the fire department's budget
Lane
committee.
got that either.
And there's also one for planning commission, I believe. Oh, my God.
Well, I've already tried to recruit somebody for planning commission because, yeah. No comment.
Yeah.
Is there anything for the good of the order? I think we can adjourn this meeting.
So moved and seconded and
Thank you.
Okay.
Ask you a question first about planning commission?
thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.